Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. Just had me some dinner. Had that Mexican lasagna me and Grandma made over the weekend. Good stuff. Went to see how charged up my battery was or wasn't on this rascal. Let me plug you in. It didn't like that. There we go. Now it's charging. Last night on the live stream, had a young man was questioning me quite a bit, which I'm fine with that. Don't have a clue if he took my advice or not. Alright, the breakdown, and I'm only gonna repeat what he told me. I'm not going to assume. He said he's been out here for a year. He's looking to become an owner-operator or a lease-to-own driver. Upon questioning him, I found out he's 22 years old, and he's wanting to be an owner-operator or a lease operator because he's not making enough money. I can relate to not making enough money. First thing you have to understand is you never make enough money. You can't do it. Simply because the more you make, the more you budget out at the house for whatever. Toys, furniture, a note to fix something on the house, expand. You never make enough money. Father talking to him, he's grossing between $1,200 and $1,500 a week. I told him he didn't need a job that paid more. He needed to straighten his budget up. He needed to take some stuff off the budget at the house. Folks, if you can't pay your bills and you're grossing $1,200 a week, you need to do something. Something's wrong. And it ain't the money you're making. Now, along with that, the reason for getting into the owner-operator is because you're not making enough money. That in itself is a problem, because when you become an owner-operator, you're not going to make very much, especially the first few years. The truck needs to make all that it can get. So if you're already having issues at $1,200 a week, you do not need to be an owner-operator, because you should not be making that much in your pocket as an owner-operator. That should be going into account for the truck. If you're having to rob from the truck to pay for the house or whatever, you're not going to be a success. It ain't going to happen. You're going to have breakdowns, blowouts, payroll won't come through for whatever reason. That happens. There's going to be so many things that happen that's going to affect that truck, so that if you have been robbing the truck's budget, you don't have that little piggyback bank stash back that you can go to make that truck note when the truck don't make it. You're not going to have the money to do a repair. you really need to have $30,000 minimum in an account. 50,000 plus wouldn't hurt. You need to have access to that kind of money if you're an owner-operator. You really do. Can you do it without it? Yes, you can. But you're going to have to be on top of your game. You're going to have to be married to that truck. And you're going to have to give that truck every penny that you can. So if you have a girlfriend, which he does, you're going to be wanting to get home to play with that once in a while, more often than you should as a truck driver, as an owner-operator. The whole scenario is a bad scenario. Now, I'm telling you this because I know that there's a lot of new drivers out here that their companies are trying to talk them into becoming a owner-operator. Lease purchase this truck and you'll be an owner-operator. No, you'll be a sucker. I have not seen a good lease purchase program out there yet. I've been told about some, at least in the beginning. Lease purchasing is real simple. The companies buy a new truck. They run the dickens out of it. Towards the end, when it's getting close to that 500,000, they start doing as little maintenance as possible. And then when a driver starts getting 1 to 2 years under their belt, they start trying to pressure you into being a lease operator because you're going to make more money. So now they sell you a truck at inflated prices, at more than they could have traded it in for. And now you're going to run the miles on this truck that's already got problems. And you're going to be responsible for it. They're not going to give you any real guarantee on that truck that they want you to lease. They're going to be telling you silly stuff like, well, we maintained it. It's good to go. First off, you need to be paying attention to how well they fix the truck you're in. You need to look at some of their older trucks and find out how they've been taking care of those. You'll find out they've been trying to patch stuff. They let them go over on their oil changes. They don't want the truck to stop to have any real repairs done unless they're just forced to. And that's the truck you're fixing to get. That's about like grabbing a pig in a poke, ain't it? I can't tell you enough, folks. If you only have 1 year's experience, you don't even know what you don't know yet. You ain't got a clue what you still have to learn. You really don't know and understand freight lines. And the lanes that you're going to be running are very important. If you get on one and you're allowed to use their board, how do you know what lanes to run? How do you know what cities to go to? If they're not letting you use a board and they're dispatching you, how do you know what loads to accept or what ones to turn down? Do you really have a clue what the loads are paying, where they're going? Do you know where the best money is to run for? Do you know where the worst money is? What part of the country do you think pays the worst? What part do you think pays the best? How do you make that balance out? How do you know if that company ain't running double books on you? How do you know if that company ain't charging you broker fees? That's an old trick that they do. They go onto a broker board and they get you a load. Now the first broker already got his cut. And now your company is going to give you that load, but they take a broker's cut, which is usually around 20%. So the first guy got 20% off the big apple. This guy got 20% off the next apple. So that's going to leave you 50% or less of what that load originally paid for. And you still don't know if they're not cutting the rates on you. There's a whole lot to trucking that a 1-year rookie, you ain't got a clue. A 2-year rookie ain't got a clue. You really don't. And I'm not trying to be mean. You know me, no sugar added. I'm just laying it out there for you. And if you let your company press you into being a lease operator for them, you're really screwing up. There's a reason why they're trying to force that onto you. If it was that profitable, they wouldn't be telling you to go do it. They would be keeping that freight for their company drivers. These companies are not out here to lose money and take care of the truck driver. So you stop and think about that a minute. If you can make that much more than being a company driver, what good business sense says that they should give it to you? Just to move more freight? Nah. They want to do it so that you're buying that truck. You are now locked into them. You paid them more for that old wore out truck than they could have got on a trade-in. They're taking broker fees off the loads that they're finding you. And they're charging you a maintenance fee, and they're charging you a tire fee, and they're charging you trailer rent, and all this is just a penny, 2 pennies a mile, 1 or 2 pennies a mile. There's an old saying years ago that a lot of people forgot, and it's watch your pennies and your dollars will take care of themselves. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They're watching their pennies. Oh, we forgot about the escrow account, didn't we? And I guarantee you, if you have a bad week, and you will, their truck note's going to come out of it. That's probably going to be about $600 a week. That was the average for years that they was charging. So you're going to have that note coming out. Whatever miles you've ran, they're going to take all their little pennies off of your mileage for all their little maintenance stuff and all that. Some of them even charge an office fee or processing fee. That's where they charge you for doing your paperwork and giving you your check. So by the time they get all done, if you're lucky, you're going to be making as much as a company driver. If you're lucky. And you haven't even started setting aside your own money. What are you going to do when you have to have a overhead? What are you going to do when you have to have an end frame? What about getting a tire alignment? What about all this stuff? Now, chances are, if it's not big money, the company is going to pay for it. Have it done at their shop. And then they're going to charge you ridiculous rates for fixing it. But they'll finance it. So now here's another little chunk coming out of that paycheck. You know, I can talk till I'm blue in my face, and there's some of you that just ain't going to get it. Unfortunately, as human, how should I say that? It is human nature for us to have to learn from our own mistakes. I wish I could get you to understand I've been there. I'm not just talking smack. I've been there. I fell for it. I did it. And as a very seasoned driver, knowing how to knock out the miles and everything else, couldn't make no money at it. So trust me, it's not always about how many miles you can run. And as a rookie, you think, well, I can run 3,000 plus miles a week. Boy, sometimes nothing is still nothing. So if they're paying you nothing, that's what you're going to make. If they're robbing all the cream off the top, all that leaves you is soured milk. That's my thoughts on that. Y'all remember, God loves you, so do I. The companies, they've got a scam going on. And you need to stop and think about it. If they're playing hardball or high pressure, trying to get you in that truck, it's for their best interest, not yours. Y'all have a blessed evening now. Bye. Oh, before I leave, I can tell you now, something else for you to think about. If you're having budgeting issues at home, where you can hardly pay your bills, that in itself should be setting off alarms for you. Well, guess what? If you become an owner-operator, you're not taking care of them bills at the house. They're not going away. You're just fixing to add a whole bunch more bills onto it. So if you can't balance your books at home and make that work, how in the world are you going to do it when you add on a bunch more? To be an owner-operator, you have to have a business mind and a business plan. You have to really think about what you're doing. It ain't as easy as a lot of them make you think. If you're not on top of your game, got a big bankroll, and already been learning about stuff, it is honestly, it is a recipe for disaster. Stop and think about what you're doing before you make that big move. Now then, I'll sign off. I'll still tell you, he still loves you, and so do I. Y'all have a good evening now. Good night.